Hi, I hope you're enjoying our presentation. I'm Kim Allman. Sorry I could not be there, but I look forward to your questions either by email or phone. Katie, Jennifer, and Matt have shared some wonderful tools to help create comics and talked about how you can use comics to enhance information education. I'm going to talk about some basic storytelling techniques when it comes to creating comics. While comics are a great way to help create content in your library, knowing some of the basic tools of sequential storytelling will help make sure your message is clear, as well as engaging and entertaining. Of course, we all understand that in Western culture we read from left to right, and as in the case of this example of Murphy's Law School, we continue the process going down. Now this is obvious, but I bring it up because it's easy to take for granted, and a creator can forget to follow through with all elements that are taking place within the panels of your comic. Just as we read the comic from left to right, you have to keep in mind how to place objects within your comic, and the major mistake that novice comic artists make is not paying attention to how these characters are placed, as well as the word balloons. Let me demonstrate. Okay, let's take a look at how the word balloons are placed in this series of panels from Murphy's Law School. I have an establishing shot with some stacks in the background and a doorway, and of course the character of Spike, who is an anthropomorphic hedgehog and the eternal law student, with a newly admitted first-year law student whose name is Brad. You'll notice these black shadows on the bottom of the panel. That and the way I have the bodies of the two characters positioned and with this backdrop help move your eye in this direction toward the next panel. This is a good little device to learn how to use. Now, let me zoom in just a little bit. Come back a little bit. Okay, here we are. Let's look at the second panel. Now, note that though in the first panel Spike was talking first, so of course I've got his conversation positioned in such a way, remembering that we read left to right. But when we go over here, Brad's the one speaking first. So I had to make sure to place the word balloon in such a way that you know that he is the one who is talking first. Again, that whole bit of reading left to right. We're going to read this balloon first. We have what's called a descender, which is this little thing that's pointing at Brad's head. So we know that he's the one talking. And then, of course, then Spike responds, saying that he is a 4L. Next panel, I do something a little different. Oh, and let me note something else here. You see that I continue the positioning of the body, how they're both facing slightly forward but turned a little bit to the right. Again, helping you move your eye. But then I change the rhythm here with this third panel, with the third panel. All the focus is on Spike. Again, watching how I position the word balloons determines who is talking first. And you want to be really careful about this. I mean, I could, if I was not paying attention, I could have had Spike's word balloon up here where Brad is talking. But it's Brad that's saying 4L, but law school is only 3 years. And Spike, of course, responds that he didn't pass his tax law exam. So the placement of the word balloons and body positioning in the panels are all kind of critical to helping move your story along. And like I said, I changed the tempo a little bit here because I've put Brad in a position where he sort of stops the movement momentarily. And then we go to the fourth panel, where we get the punchline. And again, we've resumed the same position as in the first and second panels, but we've gone a little closer to the characters, making it a little more intimate. Again, positioning of the word balloons is important. Now you'll note that the word balloon that, where Brad is speaking and putting in the punchline is covering his body. I did that deliberately. Part of the reason is because since I moved the panel closer to the characters, it left me less space to work with. That was deliberate because I wanted this intimacy. But also it helped, what Brad's body is not the important thing. What he is saying, that's what's important. And also because of the way the word balloons are designed and the characters are placed, I think it creates a nice circular composition here. Okay, in this next comic strip from Murphy's Law School, I mentioned a little bit about tempo and using other music terms in creating comics. And it's a legitimate concept to grasp. You see many daily comic strips that are always, say, only 3 panels, the same size, and may even use the same image from panel to panel, rather. It is a type of style, and there's nothing wrong with it. Personally, for me, it's a bit static, and after all, comics are a visual medium, and we should make the most of it. In this strip, Spike is addressing the problem of trying to get a study room booked during exams. Of course, one of the wonderful things about comics is we can do anything in them, no matter how far-fetched or ridiculous. Plus, both Anthony and I are big fans of superhero comics, so why not do a take on the Hulk? Now, note how I've drawn these panels. As Spike takes the concoction that will turn him into Hulk Spike, let me zoom in. You notice that I've compressed these panels and I've begun to angle the line of the panel. We're also zooming in closer to Spike. The reason I'm doing this is this device, especially creating these angles, that creates tension. Again, going back to that whole bit about tempo, I'm not familiar with the musical term, but this would be that part in the melody where the tempo is increased and gets faster, and therefore raising the tension. There's also a couple of other neat little things here that go on in this particular panel. You'll see these little drops of sweat and these action lines, and Spike's hair, well, it gets spikier. All of, these things are called emata, and that was a term that was coined by cartoonist Mort Walker, the person who created and drew Beetle Bailey, to explain all the little things he had coming off his characters, like stars and sweat and little smoke lines. And the word emata is derived from emanate, because all this stuff is emanating from the characters. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some more advanced concepts. In this page from my webcomic, Nigel the Nosferatu, we have a confrontation between an attorney that represents the local village that's trying to evict Nigel from the castle he inhabits. Nigel has a prodigy ward whose name is Lucy. Here she is taking on Mr. Cheatham in a battle of wits. Now in the panels I have used contrasting black and white. This is to help add drama. It also helps create depth for the characters. The black behind Mr. Cheatham here helps throw his body forward. The black in Lucy's hair, again, puts emphasis and frames her face. The black here in the opening to the castle portcullis helps frame Lucy, throws her body forward. I've got Mr. Cheatham sort of looming over her. The placement of the word balloons helps move your eyes. All of this is helping create drama, and then here you have Nigel is responding, and even the word balloon goes over the gutter, this understood transition of time between the panels. So this all together helps create drama. Another thing I did deliberately here is, even though, again, taking advantage of the fact that we in the West read from left to right and down, but still, your eye is going to look down as you're reading, and the fact that both Lucy and Nigel are in this close-up position, or close-up on their face, shows that it creates a bond between them. And of course, in the story, there is a strong bond between the two characters, and that they're facing off against Mr. Cheatham, who is predominant on the left side. And you can read some additional things into that as well. But and the other thing, of course, is the panels are not, the images in the panels are not static. It's not the same image from image from panel to panel to panel. This angling. Remember, where I talked back earlier with the comic book of Spike turning into Hulk and using the angle of the panel to create drama. Here, we're keeping your basic square or rectangular shape but it's the angle of the body of Mr. Cheatham here that helps create the drama, helps create some danger. This was a technique used a lot with filmmakers like Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock. And comic books do draw a lot of influence from famous filmmakers, the way you would set up a shot. You can approach the same way with doing comics. Well, that's just about it for now. If you want to learn more about storytelling with comics, I highly recommend this book here, Drawing Words and Writing Pictures by Jessica Abel and Matt Madden. And if you have not read Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, I highly recommend that you do so. And he did a follow-up book called Reinventing Comics. Well, that's it for me. I'm going to turn things back on over to the other presenters, and I look forward to your questions. And so I'm giving it back to you, Katie, Jennifer, and Matt.